actually a grad student, and I'm actually doing a paper on how the decline of African American marriages is affecting our kids in school. I'm an education major. So you had mentioned, first I love the book, I read it in one night. As someone who's looking. You had mentioned during this talk that you got a lot of negative comments from other black men about black women. My question is, what's been like the number one gripe you've heard from these men?
You could probably imagine what they are. I think a lot of the issue that I hear, to put it not in the language they use, but is that, there's a sense of, black men are down and black women are up, and they let it go to their head, and they want to be controlling and domineering and run the show, and they don't listen, and all of that, right? Which again is, I think these are perceptions that would be common among any group if there is this power imbalance, right? Because although we might say money doesn't matter, if the woman's supporting the family and the man is not, and she's the one who's calling the shots, they both are aware of that. And it's pretty easy for him to start to resent that over time. And that happens.
Well, I do understand that my friends and I, some of us say we wouldn't marry someone who just has a high school diploma or didn't even finish high school. And we know some of our white female friends say, that really isn't an issue for them. I actually like that in your book, you also pointed out that some of these white people are also coming from families who might be able to help them financially, where some of us might be first generation college graduates, where it would be a huge burden to marry someone who could not do 50%.
You did read the book. Yeah. That's a great point. No, that's good. So that's a great point. So there is survey evidence that shows that black women actually do have higher standards for marital or for economic stability in a partner. So they want a man who has money, who has a job, who's earning money, but then they actually end up marrying men who don't. And so it's,
And why is
that's
that?
the problem. Why do they want a man who's earning money?
No, I understand that.
Oh.
What I don't understand is why would they settle?
Well, again, so this is the market. So to flesh out some of the discussions. So, in any given year, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say it's 50,000 black women graduate from college, and it's about 26,000 black men. So it's almost 2 to 1. So if 50,000 black women graduate from college, and the actual numbers are different, but this is the right ratio. If 50,000 black women graduate and 26,000 black men do, even if all of those guys get married, but in fact, some portion of them are actually going to be unmarried, some portion are going to marry women of other races and so forth, but even if all of them married black women, you still have 24,000 black women who don't have a black classmate to marry, so they're marrying a guy who didn't go to college. And the guy who didn't go to college is less likely to be economically stable now than 30 years ago. So I come from a family, I had several people in my family who worked at steel mills or auto plants in Cleveland. And those were jobs that paid well in 1970, but they don't today because they don't exist today for the most part, right? So if you were a less educated male in 1970, you could work at Ford and you could support a family, but now those jobs don't exist. So the guys who don't get the higher education are in the worst position of all in the job market. Even the women who don't get higher education are in a better position now than they used to be because women have been concentrated in fields that have actually grown. Home healthcare aides, the hospital industry, healthcare industry generally, whereas men were in manufacturing, and manufacturing jobs have just been decimated. So they marry the man who doesn't have good economic prospects because those are the men who are left. And so there's then this bad situation where the woman actually wanted a man who's economically stable even more than white women might, is what your point was. And I hypothesize that that's because white families are more likely to have a cushion, a familial cushion. So the woman can say, well, my husband doesn't really have to make that much money because, our family is going to help us out, right? Or they're going to support us because they have this wealth cushion. But black families are much less likely to have that wealth cushion. So if the black families don't have that wealth cushion and the two partners are not doing it together, they're not bringing in the money, problems are going to result. And that's what happens a lot.